what is happening now in Ghana, where they are going around campaigning. We pray that it will be peaceful, and the utterances that come out on their platforms will be that which will secure the peace before, during, and after the elections. We know that when these things happen, we begin to attack personalities, we begin to address issues that may not be very, very relevant. But we believe that in these elections, it should be issues-based. What can you do for Ghanaians? What should Ghanaians expect in the 4-year term that you want us to put you in the leadership? Will it be service to the people, or is just going to be just like the other time round when they are voted into power and we don't see them again? Now we are looking at infrastructure, we are looking at jobs, we are looking at our roads, we are looking at our schools, we are looking at the young, we are looking at the youth, and so that they can be in gainful employment, so that they just don't turn their attention to destroying the forests and water bodies because there are no jobs, and so they have to go and do galamsey. I think these are the issues we should address, so that at the end of the day, when you tell us that when you come, your project is going to see to our roads, see to our hospitals, see to our schools, see to the youth, see to employment, see to economy, the economy, where our currency will also be stable. All of these are what we want people, the politicians, to address, and not just fighting amongst themselves and raining insults at each other.
And deepening the culture of ethical leadership among religious communities, which would also have a wider implication in the African society. We have brought church leaders and women representatives and young people together from about 15 African countries that are meeting here today to reflect and be challenged, be inspired, be motivated around the need for us to embrace and express ethical leadership in all our dealings, whether political engagement, economic engagement, social engagement, religious engagement, cultural engagement. Let life-giving ethics take precedence. And that is why we have brought these church leaders from these 15 countries to be challenged in a way. So we hope that in the next 3 days that we will be here, all the participants will return to their respective countries well energized, well informed, well capacitated, well challenged and motivated to go and advocate for ethical leadership among the political class, among those who are in business in their respective countries, to do business the ethical way. So, the All Africa Conference of Churches, which was formally established in 1963, came about from the commitment of different African churches then during the time of what we call the independence of nation states in the continent of Africa. Because if you look at it, AACC came into existence even before the Organization of African Unity. But also the churches say, how can we work together, not in silos, not fragmented, but work together to accompany our independent nation states? So from the Baptists, from the Methodists, from the Lutherans, from the Anglicans. So at the moment, we have about 210 member churches and councils in 46 African countries, and with observer status to the African Union, where we engage in high-level advocacy and diplomacy, where we do deployment on peace mission in different countries. Our peace mission is not accompanied by weapons. Okay, when you hear about peacekeeping, you hear about weapons, soldiers, police going. But our peace mission is where we deploy eminent religious leaders with message of peace and peaceful coexistence in turbulent countries around the continent. For decades, we have continued to experience bad governance, corruption, nepotism, and what I would also describe negative tribalism that you find in the churches and also in the wider community. And so if you put together nepotism and tribalism, it has contributed to our retrogression as a continent where merit, competence, professionality is slaughtered at the altar of tribalism and nepotism. You would find young people or people who are competent to be given public offices, but because they have no connection to someone in power, they are not given. But those in power would identify their relatives, people who come from... So it is about tokenism. And this ethical issue must be dealt with if we want to make progress in the continent of Africa. Our governance must be driven by competence, professionality, and ethics that gives life. We're not talking about... There are certain ethical values that you can question. But we're talking about ethics or ethical principles that brings about transformation. Okay, so we need to deal with bad governance in the continent of Africa. We need to deal with corruption in Africa. We need to deal with nepotism and tribalism in Africa. We must deal with self-centeredness and greed among those in power. So it is about how much will I accumulate when I am given a public responsibility or public office. So these are ethical issues that we need to deal with as a continent if we really want to realize the Africa we want from the Agenda 2063 of the African Union. The Africa we want must be an Africa that is grounded on shared prosperity, peace, and transformation, and guided by ethical leaders in the continent of Africa.